We are less than 1 week away from Nebraska beginning one of the most competitive spring practices that we've ever seen. So over the past couple days, I've looked over the entire roster, narrowed down my list, and I've come up with 5 players who I expect to shine above the rest and completely break out going into the fall. So really quick, this is going to be a big time video. I'm super excited to get into it. Hey, if you're fired up, because I know I am, hit that like button. And also, hey, if you support what I'm doing here, daily Husker football content, recruiting updates, it would really help me out, especially this off season. Please hit that subscribe button, join this family. And once again, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it, going over my 5 breakout players that I expect to absolutely blow up spring ball. Now, this was a hard list to narrow down to. I had my number in my head. I wanted to only have 5 players to highlight, and I started off my list with about 20 guys I expected big things from, narrowed that down to 15, narrowed that down to 10, and then from there it got really hard. But the next 5 guys who I'm going to talk about are the ones who I expect to really impress people and are going to be in this too deep, and you're going to be hearing a lot about them over the next couple weeks. So let's get things rolling with my number 1 breakout player, who's actually a true freshman in the wide receiver room. It's probably not who you think it is. This is Isaiah Mosey, coming out of Kansas City, Missouri, longtime Oregon 4-star commit, flipped over to Nebraska late summer. I just think people forget how good Isaiah Mosey is. He was overshadowed a little bit by Cortez Mills because Cortez, flipped at the last second from Oklahoma. And Cortez Mills, of course, a phenomenal prospect. He's going to have a great spring ball too. But I am very, very high on Isaiah Mosey. I've been since the jump. The thing that Isaiah Mosey does that pretty much no other wide receiver on the roster besides Ja'Cory Barney does is his run after catch ability. He's the type of guy who can take a screen pass and take it to the house. He basically acts like a running back. He's so shifty. And for that reason, he can get on the field at a multitude of positions. He can be our slot receiver. He can play at wide receiver Z. He can play in the backfield. There's been speculation that he might actually line up at running back this year, kind of like a Wan'Dale Robinson. And it should be mentioned, he's also 6'1". He's not some short wide receiver. He can do just about everything. He has good hands, can go up and get it. He can break tackles. He can block. I know a lot of Nebraska fans want that. He's also a coach's boy. His dad, Jamar Mosey, is on the coaching staff, so he's going to be giving it his all every single day in practice. Listen, this wide receiver room, I think, is wide open, especially when we get to this too deep. We have a brand new wide receivers coach in DeKel Short, so it's open competition. Nobody has a spot right now, on the depth chart. I don't expect Isaiah Mosey to start necessarily, but I absolutely expect him to be on the 2 deep at the end of spring, and I expect him to be one of those guys that we talk about as not redshirting just because of his, ability to play all over the field. He's a utility knife. He can make plays after the catch. He's physical. He's just going to do everything that the coaching staff asks him to do. We just forget how good this guy is. If Oregon wanted this player as badly as they did and Nebraska flipped him, we should be treating him, as good as he is, because he is a stud, man. And he's somebody who's going to be a household name for Nebraska over the next couple of years. I think he really starts his career off with a boom. I'm buying stock now. Expect him to have a good spring because we heard a lot of good things about him in winter conditioning. I expect him to take it to a different level when we get the actual football involved. So that's the first guy I want to highlight, Isaiah Mosey. Let's get to my second breakout player, this time on defense. Mario Buford, another player that I think just doesn't get as much hype as he deserves. We're talking about Amari Sanders on the channel a lot. Donovan Jones, Larry Tarver's a guy that I really, really like. A couple other guys, true freshmen in there. But Mario Buford is somebody who has quietly impressed the staff at every single moment. The staff always hypes up Mario over any other young DB in the press conferences. And the one thing I like about Mario Buford, very similar to Isaiah Mosey, is once again, he's a utility knife. And when you're a utility knife, especially in this scheme, you can play. You have a better opportunity to play than just about any other player, okay? Because if you could play multiple positions. Mario Buford can play corner. I like him at nickel corner. I think that's where his future is. He can play safety, free safety specifically. You could even play him at rover if you really wanted to because he's such a physical tackler. They've cross-trained Mario Buford since he got to Lincoln. He started off last fall as a corner. Then they moved him to safety. They pushed him back to corner. He can play all over. And that's going to be huge for him when we actually get to the fall, figuring out this depth chart, because he can play wherever. And you feel comfortable with him on the field. He's super athletic. Again, he has a great frame on him at 6 foot tall. He's up to about 190, 195. Again, this weight is incorrect. He can tackle at a high rate. He has an upside that we're looking for. I think that Addison Williams is going to fall in love with Mario Buford's game in spring practice. He's going to be one of those guys who is pretty much guaranteed to get on the 2D pretty much anywhere. I could see him be a corner. I could see him be a nickel. I could see him be a safety. I just feel really comfortable about him in his future. That's why I absolutely expect him to break out and be a guy who gets significant snaps last year or next year. And it also should be noted, he didn't redshirt last year. Okay, we talk about the breakouts, like a Fitch and Shavers, Raiola, Jacory. People never mention that Mario Buford also didn't redshirt. They liked him that much that they didn't redshirt him. So, want to put that at number 2. Let's go to the running back room. Who's it going to be? I'm going to go with Mekhi Nelson, the guy who I expect to be our running back 2 coming out of spring ball, barring them taking a transfer, which is absolutely possible, and I expect them to take a transfer. But when we end spring ball, at this point in time, I expect Mekhi Nelson to be that running back 2. Okay, I have become a lot more high on Mekhi Nelson than I thought I would be because I've dived into the film over the past couple of weeks. I dived into his high school stuff. I said, what does the coaching staff love about Mekhi Nelson? Because I wasn't really informed. Shame on me. Shame on me. I wasn't as informed about Mekhi Nelson as I should have been. And what I came out and I saw was he's a guy who can do literally anything. He can, run the football and he has good wheels behind him. He's pretty much fast for his weight, for his height. He's not incredibly elusive, but he can juke a guy out. He can do a little quick spin move. He can break a tackle. He's incredibly physical. I'd actually say he's more physical as a runner than Quinn Knives. Like, he can lay the boom on you. If you want a guy who can lay the boom, who can, roll a truck, Mekhi Nelson can do it better than pretty much anybody in the roster. And the one thing I love about Mekhi Nelson, he's a smart running back, and he can block and he can catch passes. Listen, we heard a lot of good things about Mekhi Nelson at the end of last year, at the end of last season, and they wanted to play him in that bowl game. I really think Mekhi Nelson is going to shine in spring ball. Really, really feel good about it, and I think he's going to overshadow Quinn Knives just because I think he has better athletic ability. He's more physical. He can catch passes at a better rate. He can block better. I think he can just do pretty much everything better than Quinn Knives. I really can. I really do. I expect him to have a really, really good spring ball. Now, is it good enough to be the bona fide running back 2 without taking a transfer? Do you feel that confident about him to not get one? I don't know, but I expect him to be that running back 2 when we end spring ball. Now, going on to number 4 on the offensive line, President Tamoa is my guy that I'm absolutely watching out for to potentially not only get on this 2D, but I think that's pretty much a guarantee at this point in time. I think President Tamoa can give, this offensive line a run for their money and potentially start. Maybe not, at the start of the year, but as the year progresses, I think President Tamoa, you might feel comfortable starting him at left or right guard, maybe even at center. He might get involved in the center battle, which is very real. The one thing I love about President Tamoa is he probably has the best weight on him at, such a young age. Again, he's only 19 going to his second year. He dropped some of the bad weight he came in with. He's very muscular right now. He looks the part. But the best thing about President Tamoa is he's so developed in the pass pro compared, to some of these other younger players. A lot of times, a player comes in to Lincoln and they're really good in the running game, but they're not as polished in the pass pro. Okay. He was kind of the opposite. Like, he was so polished in the pass pro, maybe needed to focus on his physicality and running game a little bit more. I think President Mo is ready to go, though, man. His body's right. We heard a lot of good stuff about him, from Matt Rhule recently. I think he might be able to start at that guard spot as the year progresses, but he's going to get a lot of reps as the year goes on, kind of as our swing guard off the bench. But I really, really like President Tamoa's game. I've raved about him since he committed to Nebraska. I expect him to have a big spring ball, and we're going to hear a lot about him over the next couple weeks. One last guy I want to talk about is not necessarily a breakout player. He kind of already broke out, but I think he's going to take it to a different level. This is Willis McGahee, and you guys already know how I feel about Willis McGahee. I loved Vintage Shavers and Willis McGahee both coming out of high school. I expected both of them to play as a true freshman, but I expected Willis McGahee to actually outshine Vintage Shavers. Now, Vintage Shavers obviously outshined McGahee in that first year, but there's still a long career ahead of both of these guys. I think we forget about how good Willis actually was. He had 13 tackles on the year, 1.5 sacks. He had 2 forced fumbles. He led the team in forced fumbles. He's a situational pass rusher on this team who could get to the quarterback on third down. That's something that we desperately lack. He's continued to put on good weight. Again, I believe he's up to about 245 right now. Again, this weight is incorrect. It's last year's roster. He's going to look the part this year, and he's going to continue to develop himself as a pass rusher. I don't expect him to start necessarily Jack, but that doesn't mean anything. He's going to play a lot this year. Like, he's going to play a good percentage of the snaps. We're talking 35% of the snaps. He's going to be in a lot of third down situations, must-pass situations where you feel comfortable getting him to the quarterback. I wouldn't be shocked if we're coming out of year 2 with Willis McGahee and say, hey, he's the second best, young player on this team besides maybe Jacory Barney. Like, that's how high on I think this guy's an NFL future, and you guys already know he is elite genetics with his dad being a legendary Miami running back. So Wills McGahee, he's the last guy I want to talk about. Kind of already broke out for the Huskers, but I expect him to take it from here to here going into 2025. So those are my 5 guys that I sat down, I narrowed the list. I said, these are the 5 that I expect the most from. Let me know your 5. If not 5, let me just know one player that maybe I didn't mention, but you have high expectations for going into spring ball. I absolutely want to hear that player down below. It takes 2 seconds, and let me know in the comment section because I absolutely want to read that. Hey, if you made this far in the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out with me. Again, please subscribe to join this family. And as always, folks, go big red, go Matt Rhule. See you in the next one.